Hey guys. So to kick off More Than Milestones, which I am just like beyond excited about, I really wanted to just take the time to make one episode about me in case people don't know me, you haven't been around, whatever the story might be. So this episode is really going to be an intro to me, Casey, the face behind Milestones and Motherhood on Instagram, and also really like an intro and kind of the backstory on how this More Than Milestones podcast came to be. So back way up. I'm Casey. I am a pediatric physical therapist. I am a wife. I have 3 little ones. They are currently 7, 5, and 4. So the backstory on really like Milestones and Motherhood on Instagram is this. I grew up around pediatric therapists. My mom was a pediatric therapist. I used to go to sessions with her. She owned her own early intervention agency, and I was there all the time. It was a huge piece of my childhood and definitely a big driving force in my decision to become a pediatric physical therapist as well. So my path to becoming a physical therapist was a little bit non-traditional. I actually ended up going to PTA school, which is a 2-year program where you come out and you're a physical therapist assistant once you pass your boards. And so really the only difference between, well, not the only difference, but one of the biggest differences between being a physical therapist assistant versus a physical therapist is that related to like evaluating, assessing, that sort of thing. So when you're a PTA, you're working underneath the supervision of a physical therapist. So as a PTA, I worked in a center-based facility that was residential as well as a school setting. And I worked with children and adults from basically 5 years old until like 21 and beyond, right? That was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And while I was there, I went into a weekend doctorate program. So basically what that program was a bridge between your bachelor's and your doctorate, but it was primarily on Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and it was whatever. That doesn't matter. Took about 3 years. So I worked full time while I did that. And the reason that I personally really wanted to transition into being a physical therapist and getting my doctorate was because in New York, which is where I'm based, you can't work in early intervention as a physical therapist assistant. And that was always kind of my hope. And so early intervention is birth to 3 for anyone that isn't aware. So it's really like the little ones. And that was always my goal. I really wanted to get into that and then preschool as well. So once I finished my doctorate, I continued working there. And then I also started working in early intervention after work. So I was working full time, and then on my way home, I would have cases on the road, that sort of thing, going into homes. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest. And from that point on, I really slowly transitioned solely into early intervention and preschool services just because I needed that flexibility with her schedule. My husband, Jay, who I'm sure you'll hear a ton about if you haven't already heard about him. My husband, Jay, works in New York City. He is in a union. He's a steam fitter and welder. So I really needed to have that flexibility. So over time, I slowly transitioned into early intervention, evaluations, treatments, that sort of thing. And then I had my second daughter. And when she was born in November, and when she was around 4 or 5 months old, the pandemic hit and everything changed. So essentially, I transitioned from being in the home, providing hands-on. And like you can imagine as a physical therapist, like I need to have my hands on you, right? Like that really matters. We had to transition to telehealth. And so I was doing telehealth with my 0 to 3 population and their parents who were giving it all of their effort. And I was doing that while my essential worker husband was in the city, and I was home with my 2-year-old and my pretty much like 4-month-old. And it was real. It was real. I mean, I know everybody has their own pandemic story, and the people that were in it really like with little ones, I know get it, but like it was hard, and I felt very alone. And I also felt very much like I was not putting my skills to work the way that I felt good about, right? Like I didn't feel great about telehealth, but I didn't have a choice, and I didn't want to like abandon my patients, right? So like we did what we had to do. But I was just like desperate for more, to do more, to, whatever. So I basically started sharing the day-to-day of what I was doing with my girls on Instagram. And I never in a million years could have predicted what it turned into. And what it was just this like absolutely amazing community of moms and parents and caregivers who were looking for resources that were just not available at that point, right? Like there referrals weren't really happening. Everything was backed up. Even if they were happening, again, it was like telehealth. And many parents who would have been working outside of the home were now in the home with their little ones, kind of like, whoa, what do we do? Like the same exact way that I felt. Like, you're seeing your little one hitting their milestones or not, or, you're curious about their development because you're right there with them when maybe that wouldn't have been the opportunity before. And that's another thing that I'm so thankful for, because in hindsight, I got time with them. Obviously, it like shifted the entire course of my life, right? But it also, like, I got time with them that, and I'll talk more about this in another episode, that yes, like looking back on it, I'm like, whoa, that was really hard. And there are definitely parts that like I don't remember unless I'm looking at pictures, because I was struggling. And we'll talk about my postpartum anxiety. I'll share all about that in one episode. But basically, I found this incredible community of people that were like in it with me. And I feel like in so many ways, being able to share my expertise, feeling like I was reaching more people in a real life way, it was everything. I feel like it saved me, and I'm so incredibly grateful. However, being in this space on social media is a whole different world, right? Like, I never set out to like be an influencer, right? Quote unquote. I just was like sharing my knowledge. And honestly, like people ask all the time, like, how did you grow? Like, truly, it's a lot of luck. It was a lot of right place, right time. And just again, like, I'm so incredibly grateful for it. But being on social media over the last 5 years, things have obviously shifted, right? And like the bigger my page got, the harder it was for me to feel as comfortable sharing the motherhood side of things, the real life side of things. Like I had some experiences where I felt very misjudged, I should say. And I think because I don't have thick skin and I don't want to have thick skin, right? Like, I am a very sensitive person. I'm very empathetic, and that's okay with me. I don't think it's a flaw. But being in a space like this, like, if you don't either develop thick skin or kind of find a place that feels comfortable for you, I don't think that you can survive on social media. And so I had to kind of make a choice. And I feel like that choice came after a really, really bad experience where I'll probably talk about that in another episode. But I basically saw what some people were saying, and it was awful. It like rocked my world because so much of it was incorrect. I couldn't believe how misunderstood I was, and how much, and again, it was such a small population, right? But like, that is so much easier to focus on than all of the positive, unfortunately. So it took a long time for me to kind of figure out what my balance on social media was, right? Like, because Milestones and Motherhood, like, this is my real life. Yes, I am a pediatric PT. I am a developmental expert in that. And like, I love that. But I also want to be able to stay connected to the community that has helped me and supported me through so many things, and has really been there for me through some of the most challenging times in my life. So it was always more than milestones, right? It was always about more than milestones, but I didn't figure that out until this podcast kind of came to me. And I was like, what about a More Than Milestones podcast where like I can get on and share the honest, the hard, everything I used to feel so comfortable sharing. And like, I know that my people will find their way here. And that feels so exciting to me. And again, it's always been More Than Milestones, but like now it's official. And I am so thrilled. And this feels like such a full circle moment for me. Like, just getting back to the connection, getting back to being able to like share my full truth, my full motherhood, parenting, wife experience. It's like, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for the platform that I've had. I'm so grateful for this space. I've met people and made relationships with people I never would have crossed paths with otherwise. I've had the honor of helping thousands of families navigate their baby's development when they didn't have other resources, or when they were being told to wait and see and they were being brushed off. And it's just been totally life-giving. I feel like this is such a full circle moment for me, and I'm so excited for it. And I know that everybody and their mother has a podcast. So even if nobody listens, like I said, I know my people will find me, and regardless, I'm thrilled to be here. And I really think this is going to be awesome, guys. It's going to be me. It's going to be my truth. It's going to be experts. It's going to be real life parents. It's going to be all of it. Like, I'm thrilled. I know that you guys are going to love it too. And yeah, it's time for more than milestones. Okay, and I also thought it might be cool to just share a little bit about kind of my why behind becoming a pediatric physical therapist, because this week is actually World PT Day, and then we'll be headed into National Physical Therapy Month. So I figured it's a perfect time to just kind of share a little bit about my why behind that and why I'm so passionate about supporting families through development. So again, like I said before, I grew up around physical therapy. I grew up around speech therapy. I grew up around occupational therapy, all that stuff because of my mom being a pediatric physical therapist. And so I kind of always knew that I definitely always knew I wanted to work with kids. And there at some points I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a teacher, blah, blah, blah. This was always meant to be my path. And I have never been more certain about that than I am now. And I'm just so thankful for it. So again, I always knew that I was going to work in pediatrics. I always knew that was going to be my route. And as I was going through school, it became more and more obvious. And then when I started to really work hands-on with children and hands-on with families and see the impact that my skills could have on a child's ability to function in their family and be involved in their family, and vice versa, for a family to understand new ways to be with their child, to engage with their child, to position their child. The power in movement and mobility is truly like life-giving, right? Like, we are meant to move. We are meant to be engaging with our world, with our environment, all of that stuff. And so being able to help facilitate that for children and for their families it was everything I needed to solidify again that, like, this is where I'm meant to be. So the other side of it, right? And this kind of ties into milestones and motherhood as well. The other side of it is that as incredible as being a pediatric physical therapist is and can be, there are really, really hard times. Like, I don't think until you're in it and it's happening that you can quite realize or anticipate how deeply some of the things that families are navigating will impact you. And even more so once I became a mom, like, it is so rewarding, but it's also hard, right? Like, it is hard to see a family navigate a loss or see a family navigate really scary medical stuff and want to support them and want to support the child in the best way possible and not carry that home every day in a way that impacts your outside life. And I'm sure that pediatric professionals in general can probably relate to that. I'm sure healthcare professionals in general can relate to that you don't go into healthcare unless you care, right? Unless you want to make a difference, unless you want to help. And so I think when those times arise where there is really nothing tangible that you can do to help, it's really hard. And I'll talk more about that in the episode where I talk about, my struggle with postpartum anxiety and, what I didn't know was anxiety at the time, or postpartum anxiety at the time, but like navigating my pregnancy and going to evaluations where I am, listening to things that these moms have gone through in their pregnancies and how it's impacted them. It's hard. It's incredibly rewarding, but it's not without challenge, is my point here. But what I realized even more working in early intervention is that even though there are all these systems in place and there's all these programs and really incredible things, they're not accessible to a lot of people, right? Like, being able to go to an outpatient therapy is a privilege. Being able to have insurance cover that is a privilege. Being able to have a car to get you there is a privilege. And a lot of times new parents especially are looking to, say, pediatricians or whoever that frontline person is for managing their child's care to give them the information that they need. And while pediatricians are incredible, they simply can't do it all, right? They can't be experts in everything. They can't see it all. They can't do it all, right? So what I found more and more was that so many kids, just even at the starting point of referrals or navigating milestone delays or hiccups or anything like that, even at the start, I found that there was this huge gap in the information being provided to parents that could truly set their child up for success now. And in so many cases, especially where there's not a formal diagnosis or a formal delay or anything like that, in so many cases, setting them up now proactively literally can like stop some of those things in their tracks. And there's so much power in that, but there's also so much frustration because I was like, I have to be able to reach more people. Like, how is this just our norm? Right. And then, so that's the very beginning of the referral process. Right. But then even once you get referred, between provider shortages, between crazy wait times, between parents who have concerns being told, oh, let's wait and see. Oh, as long as they're moving one way, it's okay. And it's not until months later that now it is impacting their development or there is a true delay. And then they're getting referred, but then maybe they're waiting months, seeing kids literally aging out of a 0 to 3 program, never having gotten the services that they were legally entitled to was breaking my heart. It still does. It kills me. It's so bad out there right now. And unfortunately, the kids that are the ones that are getting left behind are the kids that need it the most and the most vulnerable populations and their families that are trying desperately to get them the support that they need. So that really being in the field and seeing that, unfortunately, is that side of things was such a driving factor in me being like, I have this platform. I am going to use it to get this information that parents need and caregivers need into their hands. I want them to know if I'm not sure what to do, I know where I can look. If I'm not sure what this means when my kids start swimming or they stop rolling belly to back, I want to know that I can turn here and I can trust that information. And so that has become my mission. Not only helping kids reach their milestones and flourish in their development, but empowering parents with the knowledge and the confidence that they need to support their little one where they are and foster where they're headed, right? And I also think more than anything, an even bigger piece of this podcast for me and it being more than milestones is that it's not just a title for me. It's about honoring the full experience of parenting, of development, of having a community, of having trusted resources that empower you. And it's just been the biggest honor. So thank you to every single person that has been part of this journey so far. And I would love for you to message me your story, leave a review, or share this with someone who might enjoy hearing it. And in the next episode, and I'll be sharing more coming up about navigating postpartum anxiety, what that was like for me, how it impacted everything. And yeah, I'm super excited to share it with you. Thank you so much for being here.